Namaste. Another good morning. Beautiful morning. A little lighter in the dress, not the big jacket. Missed the hood, though. Very mystical. Missed the hood. Anyway. For me, I began with introduction to Hinduism through Paramahamsa Yogananda, the autobiography of a yogi. 12 years old, I guess, but I read it several times throughout my life, many times. And I wanted to talk about the 4 yogas. So Hinduism had a very powerful impact on my life for at least 20 years. And the 4 yogas, there's the yoga of Paramahamsa Yogananda and Sadhguru, Kriya, or Raja Yoga. The energy, like Chinese called Qi. Chinese understand the Qi, okay? And these 4 yogas, this yoga means union, these 4 ways to unite with the one, it's personality driven. It's your propensity, it's your tendency. You'll gravitate to one, or you can mix some, where I'm kind of in a state of mixing the 2. But then there's karma yoga, this unselfish action. Those people that you know that are just doing things anonymously, just helping, just through their efforts. Seva, they call it in the ashram. Doing deeds to benefit fellow practitioners, to benefit your ashram, to benefit ultimately yourself through this selfless action. And then there's Bhakti Yoga, the yoga of compassion, the Heart Sutra. The Heart Sutra's right, but I mean the Heart Chakra. Love and chanting and singing and love of the Guru and just a celebration of love and happiness and joy. And I think these people are rewarded with a quicker introduction to bliss as a permanent state. And then there's Jnana Yoga, Prajna Yoga. I've been listening to Heart Sutra a lot, and you're chanting to Prajna. I get it. Anyway, Prajna means wisdom in the rest of her names. Wisdom to see the path. Wisdom to cross the river. Wisdom to get to the other side. Jnana Yoga, Prajna Yoga, knowledge. And they say that of the 4, that this is the most difficult. But it's the one, as a professor and an intellectual and spending so much time thinking, of course I would gravitate to the one that the intellect was the most potent tool. But so many warnings I've gotten from people. Another practitioner of Bhakti Yoga that's very popular, he passed away, my Vietnamese Thich Nhat Hanh was definitely this Bhakti Yoga, the love of everyone, the embracement of everyone. And some practitioners say, well, you jhana people, you're all in the mind and you don't really have enough time for the others, where like Thich Nhat Hanh, the Vietnamese monk, was 100% committed to the others. But when I started to study Advaita Vedanta, they warned us, the Swami warned us, that those of you that practice that, which is Jnana Yoga, have to come back and really work on the heart. And I've been doing that with the Heart Sutra and the green color, the sage green becoming my favorite color, and the effort energy into unconditional love. And I have to say, it's really easy to love the masses, but one by one, it's a lot tougher to love each individually. But so 20 years in Hinduism, and then switch gears to Rinzai Zen for the next 33 years in the search of clarity, because there was always even as sharp my intellect was, because I could entertain so many perspectives, I guess, which led well to the acceptance when it was time of non-dualism. It really was helpful because my mind was already flexible. I never had a belief system, and I never had anything that would argue. If I was sure I was right, it would always turn out I was wrong. So if there's one thing I'm secure in, that is when I think I'm right, especially when I'm adamant, when I'm sure I'm right, guaranteed I'm wrong, without fail. Now I catch on a little quicker. But this search, and I told you about finally giving up, because the monkey mind, even the monkey mind was going constantly, but what I couldn't get past is silence the rational mind, the intellectual, the higher mind. And that was my only tool in my arsenal. And I'm supposed to, it turns out it's a misunderstanding on my part. But finally I came to peace. After I quit practicing the rigorous, I never was good with the postures, as I've said before, and the rigor of it, and the unyieldingness of it. Although aesthetically, with the cha dao, the tea ceremony, ikebana, the flower ceremony, the bushido code, the way of the warrior, aesthetically it's very pleasing, and I like Zen sensibility, Zen decoration, Zen style architecture, Zen style interior design. Love the simplicity, the cleanliness. But because I wasn't getting close to this clarity, which I thought was clarity of sight, I quit the practice. And just as Buddha, I learned, had to quit his austerities and his extreme practices, that he tried them all. And he wasn't awakened until he released that effort, that trying to achieve something, and just let what come, and then enlightenment came, and I followed in his beautiful footsteps. And then, just before this, I got introduced to Chan Zen. The Bodhidharma went, the 28th patriarch, Indian patriarch, went to China and became the first patriarch of China and Chan, where he sat facing the wall for 7 years of silence. Bodhidharma, who was ultimately, I discovered, was one of my Dhammo, was one of my 2 spirit guides. The other being Roger Bacon, a 12th century Franciscan monk, among many other things. But stuck with this Chan yoga, and this is when I had my first teacher in the flesh, and gained a lot. He really just was in total synchronicity with what I'd learned before. And his group was predicated, it was a large group, predicated on a very strict adherence to rules. But he gave me a pass, which made it a lot easier for me. He says, we got all the rules, but young, never mind. Never mind, do what you want, leave him alone, don't bother him. He knows what he's doing. He had faith. The first time he met me, he said, I'm a bodhisattva. Okay. So it's nice to have confirmation sometimes, even though ultimately it doesn't matter much. You know when you know. But after this practice of Chan, and then I awakened, and my teacher took me to the precipice. And he tuned the cosmos. That's what they have to do. Tune the cosmos to be receptive, so that the energy, the pure light, could come straight here and just explode throughout my body. Tune the energy, and then told me to leap off the abyss, and then turned around and walked away. We were done. It was clear. He had taken me as far as he had taken me, and the rest. And I went and did a swan dive. Not really. I just dove head first. I didn't even hesitate, and ultimately woke up on a dirty sidewalk as an infant Buddha. But anyway. Sometime after this, because during this process of awakening, you have to reconcile diametrically opposed concepts, which you've always love and hate, up and down, light and dark. I focused on free will and destiny. You would ask me, free will, is it free will, How Young? Yes, 100% free will. How Young, is it destiny? Oh, it's 100% destined. And seeing them as a continuum, on a sphere, a spectrum, instead of polar opposites. And that was part of the process. The last step, in fact, before I woke up on the sidewalk, was this non-dualism. And I got more and more into non-dualism that led me into Advaita Vedanta. And I'd forgotten somewhere in there was 5 or 6 years with Tibetan. It kind of overlapped to Hinduism. I got into Tibetan Buddhism, and that's how I got into Rinzai Zen, I think, is through Tibetan Buddhism. So it kind of, Hinduism kind of morphed into Tibetan Buddhism, and then kind of morphed into the refinement, the elegance of. But after giving up, I discovered that the clarity was clarity of purpose. And I'd always been clear. I wanted to remember the forgotten. I wanted to wake up. I wanted to be in the light. I wanted to embrace the oneness specifically through surrender and acceptance of the extraordinariness of ordinariness. How extraordinary it is to be ordinary. And here I was. So Advaita Vedanta, I just kind of worked things out intellectually, and I went through the whole acquisition, and I mentioned before that I became very sensitive to numbers. I know that now that awakened people are 1 in 800,000. 1 in 800,000 people are in at least the first steps, and that talked about the 3 steps of awakening. And I want to put something. I put my red Buddha first of the initial acceptance, but actually it's green. It's supposed to be through the heart. The second one was red, the heart, the root chakra, where you burn up with energy. You just burn up everything. And I needed this energy to burn that vicious spiritual ego that popped up after awakening, that just kind of reared its ugly head. I needed the energy to really burn it up. But what I wanted to say, in the process of what Rinzai Zen practice, searching for my understanding of clarity, which turned out to be a misunderstanding, at least for me, was that I was given equanimity. I didn't even notice it. And that's probably maybe one of the greatest gifts of all, to remain the same in all conditions. Yes, equanimity. All things being equal. So I still was thinking about, I read everything I can, wherever I can, about the silencing the mind. And is it possible? I still wonder, because I certainly, in 33 rigorous years of trying, not only could I not do it, but I didn't see the necessity of limitations, that it was a valuable tool. And just this morning on my walk, it came to me when I was listening to Heart Sutra. The lady introducing the Heart Sutra talked about listening, learning to listen for the silence beyond sound. And we usually think sounds come into words, come into verbalization, to expression, but the Hindu tradition, the sounds are more sacred. Words came first, and then pay attention to being sensitive to the sounds. The sounds became paramount. So I had no way to look at silence. Silence had nothing to do with quieting the mind, shutting the mind down. Let it go. Use what you can use and ignore or be entertained. It's a good source of entertainment, if nothing else. Entertainment. I'm my own best source of entertainment. My mind handles that for me. My monkey mind too. A little rascal, the trickster in the Native American tradition, which I relate to very closely. The monkey mind is the trickster. Watch out for the trickster. But the idea that there's sound, and sound is sacred. They talked about transmutation, the alchemist taking metal, taking iron and converting it to gold. Well, they did it through sound. And I believe it could have been done, and I have read that it had been done, but it was done through sound. Not through some kind of chemical hocus pocus, but through probably Om, the ultimate sound, the all-inclusive Om that includes all sounds capable of being formated by the human vocal cords. So here I am this morning, just on my walk, to revigorate, to reattach, to vitalize my grip on living in the form. My exercise, my morning stroll through the beautiful park. Another way to look at silence. That silence is beyond. You don't reach silence doesn't mean quiet. Silence is a state of being beyond sound, beyond words. So there you are. That's what I wanted to share with you this morning. Jnana Yoga, Prajna Paramita. Prajna Paramita, the Heart Sutra is dedicated. Guan Yin, we call her in Chinese Guan Yin. I don't know her Hindu counterpart. But I just want to wrap it up by saying that the Bhagavad Gita, the Vedas, the Upanishads, my Hindu background never really left. And it's funny that I've kind of come full circle. And if I'm into anything now, it's the celebration, Advaita Vedanta. Vivekananda, the saint that's brought this to the West in the 1890s. Vivekananda. Advaita Vedanta, non-dualism. And I'm enamored with non-dualism because it's the way of the world.